Hey everybody, welcome to the Rain Engineering YouTube channel called Manufacturing KnowHow. I'm Don Rahrig, CEO of Rain Engineering, and I'm here with my good friend and partner, Chris Carlins today. He's CTO at Rain Engineering. Welcome, Chris.
Thank you. I feel welcome to be here.
Hey, today this week we got to travel together and we met with a customer who implemented MES at 4 or 5 sites over the last couple of years, and they're a little less than satisfied with the return that they've gotten. It's not that the technology didn't do what they expected to do, but some of the goals at the outset of the project weren't clear. And they ended up with what they ended up with, and they weren't particularly cross about it, but it spurred this conversation to talk about some signs that maybe you're not getting the value you want from your MES. And like, what's like top of mind, the thing that we run into the most in terms of things that frustrate customers about the multi-million-dollar project, MES project they did?
You know, there's going to be manual data and there's going to be automated data in order to make an execution system work. The more that we can feed in the data from the machines, the better. And just operators having to enter in data, not getting anything back from it is...
I hear you talk about this all the time. It's like you say, so many MES implementations get people to put in lots of data, and after time, there's trouble with adoption because they don't really get anything back from it. And what do you mean when you talk about that stuff?
It's, I guess, the human psychology, and I am not trained as a psychologist, but the idea that people need to know why they're doing something. And usually it's transactional. And here we are talking about entering data, right? To know that when you're doing it, there's some kind of insights that you can get back from it. And there's a burden that goes into entering that data. And it's not just the time it takes, it breaks you out from what you're doing to do something else. And we can make it so that they know that they're entering that data and there's some reason they're getting back for it directly, or it's improving their team. That's the important part, right? So we want to make sure that whenever they're providing something in, that they're even getting more back out of it.
Yeah, if you're just using quality as an example, the way I interpret what you're saying is like, I spent time entering this quality data. You know, I take these measurements once an hour. Why? Why do I take these measurements? And they're shown things like, here's how quality's trended over the last 2 hours or the last 20 parts or over the last couple of batches. And you have that information available to you. And even some trained operators or reliability engineers might dig a little deeper with the tool and go, hey, what happened here? You might even leverage like SPC alarms to be notified about things. But there's all these little things that get missed in a lot of implementations that allow for an opportunity for operators to engage a little bit more. It's like, why did I take these quality readings? What does it mean? And to show them what it means, and to notify them, to push information to them if something's trending toward failure or whatever. But then also a tool for reliability engineers and a tool for supervisors to see how things are running on the floor. That's the kind of stuff you're talking about, right?
And it's building trust too. Yeah. Reliability engineers and supervisors. Not only are the operators maybe getting some information back, like alarms, if we can implement, it's also them knowing that when they put that information in, that other people are looking at it and looking out for them. Right. And so that's what it comes down to. And we've implemented places where now Proficy has an operator log component to where operators can put things in and message things in there. Well, we put that in other places that'll end up on production dashboards, and they know that information maybe isn't directly for them, but is going to be a communication for others to be able to help them out while they're in the thick of it doing their job.
Yeah. Talk about the MES operators and supervisors who end up bypassing MES, going back to the paper way of doing things.
Right. They stop doing the data entry.
Paper apps instead of plan apps. But one of my favorite stories is we have a client who spent a lot of money on an MES implementation. They wanted a factory of the future and move from a paper form that operators kept track of what they were doing all day on. And the scope of work said, hey, reproduce this paper digitally. And somebody else executed that scope of work, right? They made a digital form of that piece of paper. And still, even when everything went right, operators would move away and go back to their paper. And when we were asked to come and evaluate what's going on and see if we could help out, one of the things our engineers discovered was like, there's so much more on that piece of paper than just the value that they entered. There's the historical values that they've been entering all day, and they can look at it and go, oh, something's weird here. Like the last couple batches have been too wet, or the context of that, the whole day's paper being in front of you was what was missed. It was what we discovered was missed in the original MES implementation. The ability to add intelligence to it, to look at that and
context.
People went back to their original tools because they didn't have faith in the data, or because it didn't provide enough context.
Yeah, the idea is, if I'm going to go through the extra effort of putting it in here, what am I getting back out of it? And the example you're giving is one where the data was going in, but the information was being lost, right? The context of it was being missed, whether it's seeing trends, deviations, or even an alarm that could come up. And I think that's one of the things that when we go into places and say, yeah, the base system is implemented here, but what if we were to add a couple more things, right? And so alarms is a great example of that, because you have to anticipate the type of problem someone will have. You have to configure alerts and alarms into a system. And that takes an awareness of the situation, not just installing software, but working with the team. Like you always say, let's go down and talk to the operators. You don't even need this system. You know how to work it. But what about the entry level people? What about the others? What kind of things do you look out for? And building that in. So it's not just installing the alarms feature, but actually implementing it as well.
Yeah, give one real specific example of an alarm and two different contexts, because you talk about this a lot and I find it really interesting. There's an alarm that says, hey, there's something wrong and do something. You know, we need a countermeasure. And the second is an alert that allows you to kind of log that there was some anomaly.
Yep.
It didn't affect quality, it didn't affect whatever. Like, give me an example of each of those. So first an alarm.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the first one is one that people think of when it's an alarm, right? Is that there's something going wrong or about to go wrong, and an action is needed to be taken. And the neat thing about Proficy is that when those alerts happen, there's a reason associated to it. So very similar to how we also handle downtime and waste records, you can look to see these are the type of issues that people are running into. And then as far as instances of where that occurs, we can all think of like the process data itself, whether it's a temperature or maybe the fill weight of a bottle is continuing to increase with each check wear measurement. And it's just leaning towards the idea that we're going to start giving product away. So that's a classic example people talk about, right? But just to really sink in on alarms, you can alarm whenever you finally cross over that threshold. We need to trim back the amount, or you could use an SPC alarm where as it continues to creep up, you can actually even predict you're going to have a problem before it happens. So we're not talking AI. We're not talking anything super fancy. It's just a simple rule that says, as I consecutively increase my fill weight, just let someone know about it, right? And that's an example of where you would want to take action right away. You'd want that to go on the screen, and then the operator doesn't always have to go over and keep checking. They know that the MES has their back, and when the issue comes up, that it'll let them know about it. So that's an example of an alarm. And you were also mentioning what I call bookmark alarms, right?
Yeah, exactly.
As another example. And like, so you can have a high priority alarm, and you can even use the rules available to reduce the amount of alarms that you get, right? When they get a signal, we want to make sure that it's something that's going to be useful to them. So there's different ways you can configure those alarms with those SPC rules, so they're not saturated with those alerts. But in the background, you can also have low priority alarms, and they don't even have to show up on their screen. They don't ever have to see them. They can be filtered out. And you can look back, whether you're doing like a trial run or if you have somebody that's in training, and you can just acquire a bunch of other things that happen throughout the day. But the idea is that you can, at the end of the day, you're really looking at an exceptions report, and you're looking at it with them, with maybe an experienced operator, and saying, these are the things that we saw. Here's why your efficiency number was lower than this efficiency number, how it is normally. Let's work to get you up there. And so it becomes part of the training program or communication. It also could be used during shift changes, or if it's a new type of product for the supervisors and the quality team to work together. Those low priority alarms are great ways to bookmark things and then communicate in the future. So I guess the big takeaway from all of this is the fact that it's not just installing a feature, but it's listening for those different ways that you can take advantage of those features and use them
Yeah.
in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk about all the time paper apps going to plan apps, and a customer, every customer who's been making products successfully for any period of time has a manufacturing execution system, and it could be paper and
Yep.
Excel, and software can be more complex or more robust. But the
They're
fact is,
manufacturing and they're executing it somehow, right?
yeah,
One way or another.
exactly, and they get things out the door sometimes with just heroic effort.
Yeah. Let's try to reduce heroic efforts, right?
Yeah,
Let's
exactly.
let's have smooth days.
When you go from paper to an electronic system, there has to be some care given to the transition. And so when I think of a specific example, let's say you have a client who has been tracking their operational efficiency, and so they're looking at OEE and they have a number. And for 2 years, we've been tracking this in the plant, and our efficiency is 75%. It's
And
really good.
you're
And
saying before a new like Proficy comes in, that's the nice thing about OEE is you can track your OEE even on a paper or spreadsheet type thing because it's about the higher level numbers and how much you're producing versus what you should.
yeah,
What you're missing is the granularity, right? And so yeah, they've been tracking for a while. You're saying, and they're getting
yeah,
75%.
yeah, and that's the benchmark for their
Yeah,
plant is 75%. They're 75% awesome. By the way, if you want help, if you want some paper form of OEE to help yourself kind of baseline the plant or whatever, if you go to the raineng.com website and an OEE calculator that Chris actually helped build, and it's available to anybody anytime to use, it make you think differently about OEE. So I just wanted to do a quick commercial for that. So raineng.com, in the menu, click tools, and in there you'll find an OEE tool that might help you with your paper-based OEE in your factory, or even maybe to level check the MES you have today. But anyway, back to the point that I wanted to get to was we're 75% efficient. We've been doing this paper system for 2 years. What we're used to hearing is that we're really good at 75, we want to get to 76. And someone came in and decided to go electronic with OEE so that they have more data and they can do more things to try to increase that number. And in the process of implementing OEE, the first release shows a number that shows actually our plant is 60% efficient.
yeah,
And there's a lot of reasons for that, and I'll let you talk about a couple, 2 or 3 reasons that number might be different,
yep.
including just that you had it wrong, but also just a couple of reasons. But also the what that does to the culture of a company when people are real happy with what they've been doing the last few years, they have a good number, they have the benchmark, and now suddenly the rug has been virtually jerked out from under them. So talk about some of the reasons that number might be different.
Yeah, sure. I mean, everyone will say that OEE is a relative term, right? There's nothing specific that says this is how it has to be. And we've gone into customers that we really want to have a very strict OEE. And what that means is everything impacts that efficiency number because you get to decide with your downtime reason tree or what your ideal speed is, what is considered performance. So from a downtime perspective, are you counting your break times? Are you counting your changeovers against your efficiency? Maybe you're a little bit more lenient and you're only counting your changeovers if they go over a certain minimum. But as you compound that and decide to add more and more downtime as part of your OEE calculation, your number is going to drop. And same thing for your ideal speed. If you rather than doing 100 gallons per minute filling, we're going to do 80 or 100 bottles. Those changes are going to affect your efficiency number. And really it's about going through the exercise, seeing what you had before, seeing what you have now, and explaining. It really is that whole trusted conversion, right? As you're saying, we're putting in this new system and here's why. It's about communication, explain to people why it is just as much important integrating the people and the culture as it is the technology.
Yeah. How have you seen an event like that impact that culture? Does it drive people away from using it? Does it just become something they ignore in terms of performance? Or maybe the opposite happened. Maybe they wanted to get that number back to 70.
Yeah, I guess the good news, I mean, at some point you become a marketer, right? And it's like the good news is now we have more that we can improve,
Yeah.
right? If we go to 60%, then that means that people just focus on let's get it in there and just maybe those resonate with you as well. But are you seeing other things?
Yeah.
Yep.
Part of the reason why we want to have these discussions is just exposing some of that and going, hey, you're not alone. This happens.
Just the paradigm. Like, yeah, if we can't go through all of them on this podcast, but just that paradigm of meeting people where they're at and understanding that, giving them what they need to know, that these are relative numbers, and that we can really explain to people, this is how their days are improving. This is how they're putting in a good day's work.
Yeah.
And, or here's ways that we can work together to train you up so that it's more smooth in the future, doing better together. Right. That's the whole point. And you can't just do that with a technology integration.
So today we talked about things that the implementation of your MES is not quite getting you the return that you wanted. I want to say to our audience that there are lots of reasons for this, and there's lots of ways to fix it. And sometimes it's not a big engagement. Call us. Call Rain Engineering. Send me an email. Whatever you want to do. We'll have a look at what you've got. Maybe make some suggestions on how you could view things differently or how you could filter things differently. And maybe you do need to make an engineering change to make it a little bit more straightforward, but there's a plethora of things that I think we can do for the people out there who just don't quite get what they want out of their MES. So I encourage you to visit raineng.com. I encourage you to call our 800 number on the website. My email will be below in the comments. And visit this YouTube channel, bookmark it, subscribe. There's more content coming out every day. And we look forward to helping people through MES systems that haven't quite gotten the value that customers wanted. So, Chris, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, just one more way that they can get in touch with us too. Like you said, just give us a call and have a conversation. So many times it'll be like a 30-minute conversation, even with the partners that we do work with, and it just nudges them in the right direction, and that gives them more to think about, or they can even run with it on their own. And we love that. But one more way you can talk to us right away is throw some comments right in these videos too. I think any way that we can just understand more where people are at, what they're interested in talking about, the better conversations we'll have through this. So looking forward to seeing that too.
Comment, subscribe, come back and see us. Thanks for being with us today. Chris, thanks for being with me.
Pleasure.
And look forward to the next one.